next area. The smell of manure is thick as you enter this chamber flanked by wooden animal stalls. An agitated beast of burden has broken free of its pen and now blocks your way. It is cornered, mighty horns ready to gouge anyone who gets close. Begin combat. Each round, when it attacks, this creature deals an additional 1 hit point of damage to any players who hit it. We will begin with 1 insight, and also, wow, 5 insight. We're definitely going to need some help from our special items here. Remember, the rune can change any double into a single that the tailor has. And the decayed blade of the abbot, whenever he rolls wisdom, he can roll again and choose one of the 2 results. I'm debating on whether or not to have the tailor participate. Yes, I'll have her participate. We could really use a bunch of insight here. And we 0. I repeat, 0. The tailor did not roll a double, so she can't change it. The abbot can change this wisdom. Oh no, actually he can roll and choose what he wants to have. Alright, so let's move these out of the way. And he'll re-roll his double wisdom and get double wisdom. So nobody did any damage, which means the creature is not going to do an additional point of damage. The abbot, cook, and smith all avoided wounds, which means the only one that got hit is the tailor, who has our lowest amount of hit points. Luckily she didn't hit the creature, so she's down to 3. Definitely going to let her sit out for a while, and we'll move on to see if our 3 characters can gain any insight in their attacks. Alright. Missed completely again. The only one that defended was the abbot. The tailor gained a hit point and is back up to 4. The cook got hit, but the shield will reduce it by 1, taking her down to 7. The smith doesn't have anything to reduce it, and he is now at 5. I'm going to leave the tailor out. I'm going to have the cook use her elixir of insight, change one of these to a might, which 2 of the characters in the combat have at their highest trait. And we're still hoping for some insight, or 1 might. We have insight, 1 might. The abbot did not roll a wisdom, so he doesn't get a second roll. That allows us to remove 1 might and 1 insight. No one was able to defend. The cook will take a wound because this is reduced, and she did not wound the creature. So she'll take 2 points reduced by 1 and is at 6. The tailor sat out and is back up to 5. The smith, though, did wound the creature with the cracked axe, so he's going to take an additional point and take 3, taking him all the way down to 2. The abbot also wounded the creature, so he will take 3 damage minus 1 down to 2 damage, reducing him to 5 remaining hit points. The tailor will get back in, and the smith and his cracked axe will leave. This is a tough battle. Well, we did get a double insight. The abbot did roll a wisdom. Roll again and choose. So he's going to either have a wisdom or a wisdom. The tailor rolled the double insight, so we're not going to change that. So the tailor and the cook both defended. The abbot did not, but the abbot did not do damage. We removed 2 insight. We're almost there. The cook defended. The tailor defended. The smith sat out and is now back up to 3 remaining health. The abbot took 2 wounds, reduced by 1, taking him down to 4. We'll leave it just like it is, let the smith sit out 1 more round, and hope we can roll 1 insight. Well, we rolled 3. Where were you earlier? That allows us to defeat the beast of burden. The smith will gain a point for sitting out, taking him back up to 4, and we may draw an item. Effervescent evasion. Whenever you would take damage, discard to avoid that damage. I moved the Brew of Might to the cook, gave the tailor the evasion. I think we might only have one more chapter card before we get to the boss. Our current status is 6 health, 5, 4, and 4. We will have the cook open the next door because if she does take damage just opening it, we can discard the evasion. You have been hunted by ferocious castle hounds. You become separated and each of you must fight alone. Roll a chapter dice in front of each player to represent the hound attacking them. The hounds can sense weakness. Players with less than 8 hit points roll 2 dice instead of 1. Combat special. No player can rest until the hounds attacking them are defeated. They may then help another player defeat theirs. A player aiding another takes damage as normal but must declare who they are aiding before they roll. And the hounds do 1 hit point of damage. Everyone is less than 8, so everyone will have to roll 2 dice. The cook gets an insight and a might. The tailor, 2 insight. The smith, insight and a might. And the abbot, 2 insight. We will start with the cook. She does have the Brew of Might available to discard to apply a single might. So if she rolls an insight, then we might use that to get it over with. She rolled a double insight. I will definitely use my Brew of Might, and that will take care of both of hers. The cook has 2 insight to deal with. That is her highest trait. And if she rolls a double, she can change it to any single. Wow, that is excellent. She actually took care of that wolf all by herself. The smith has a insight and might to deal with and has the cracked axe. Wow, this is some really great luck that I'm getting here. We're not going to one-shot it with the abbot because the abbot only has 1 insight on his die. But if he rolls a wisdom, we can re-roll and choose. Well, he rolled a might, which doesn't get rid of it, but he did defend, so nobody took damage. This seemed like a really bad situation up until that round of combat went by. The smith is at 4. We're going to have him sit out, but I'm going to have the tailor and the cook both assist the abbot. Hopefully the 3 of them can gain 2 insight. Wow, definitely did. The smith is up to 5 after sitting out that round of combat. We can gain 1 item. Another effervescent evasion. We have survived long enough to make it to the final boss before we open the door. The cook has 6 health with a rotten shield and an evasion potion. The tailor has 5 health, an evasion potion, and Rengorn's rune. The smith has 5 health and the cracked axe. And the abbot has 4 health, a rotten shield, and a decayed blade. And I will have the cook open this final boss's door. We can see on it, it says, "Do not read until you have completed the last chapter card," which we just did. This is it. You have reached the final challenge. One last obstacle stands between you and freedom. Turn over now. The Shapeshifter. I can assume the form of your greatest fear. Doubles only score a single hit against the Shapeshifter. At the end of each round, if the Shapeshifter has not been defeated, it changes form. Reroll all its remaining chapter dice. It will start with 2 might, 2 wisdom, and we have to roll, adding 3 insight and 1. Before I start my attack on the Shapeshifter, you might notice that things look like they've been moved around a little bit. I filmed this entire sequence and made a mistake. I forgot that doubles only score a single hit against the Shapeshifter. So I filmed the entire sequence, finished the game, did my final comments, put the game away completely, and got another game back out on my table that I'm getting ready to do another series for. And when I was editing, I realized I forgot that rule. and that's a big rule. It would have completely changed the outcome. So I'm going to refilm this entire battle over again. I watched the footage, checked to see what everyone's hit points were, what their items were, what I originally rolled and got for the Shapeshifter's chapter dice. I think everything is back to the way it was, and we are ready to go. Okay, our first attack. We have a whole bunch of might, which we really don't need but 2. The tailor could change that to a single, but we need to get rid of 2 insight anyway. The abbot did not roll wisdom, so we'll go with that. Being able to remove 1 insight, 1, 2, 3, 4 might. You take off 1 insight and the 2 might, leaving us with 3 wisdom and 2 insight, which will change when the shapeshifter rerolls. The tailor and the cook both got shields and were able to defend. The smith and the abbot did not, so they are going to take 3 wounds each. The smith is at 5. Those 3 wounds will take him down to 2. The abbot's 4 health will take 3 damage, reduced by 1. So he is also at 2. And we're in a tough position here. But first we need to re-roll the Shapeshifter's chapter dice. We are now dealing with 3 insight, 1 wisdom, and 1 might. Now I have the tough decision of, do I set somebody out or do I just go for it? That way I have as many dice as possible. Because if the smith or the abbot take another wound, that'll be enough to put them down to 0 or lower, and that will end the game for us. But if I leave somebody out, that is potential dice that they could roll, and I think we just have to go for it and put everybody in the battle again. This could be the final roll. If we don't take the shapeshifter out with this attack, the smith and the abbot would both have to defend in order for us to keep going. Again, we're looking for a might, a wisdom, and 3 insight. And since doubles only count as a single, all 5 dice would have to land on what we needed. Let's see where that puts us. Well, the smith did not defend, which will end the game for us. I think that is it. I think we have lost. The abbot did roll wisdom, so he can re-roll, but we need a wisdom anyway. The tailor could turn this to any single. The only thing we would want to turn it to would be another insight. We came extremely close. We have 1 wisdom, 2 insight, and 2 might. We would have won if one of those might was an insight. Or we could have went to another round if the smith was able to defend, because the abbot did. So very close, only 1 die away from a win. With those results, we would have removed 1 wisdom, 1 might, and 2 insight, leaving us with just 1 chapter die remaining. And unfortunately, the wounds, the cook would take 1, taking her down to 3, or take 3 wounds, taking her down to 3. The tailor defended, the abbot defended, but the smith, unfortunately, would take 3 wounds, is only at 2 health, taking him down below 0 and keeping our 4 characters from escaping the Dark Castle. Let me give you my thoughts on the game. Starting with the rule book. The rule book is very well written. It is very simple. It's not a very complex game, but taking you through the quick setup and the gameplay, giving you explanation of terms and items throughout the game and some good examples, makes the rule book really well done and well executed. The theme goes a long way for me. I grew up playing and loving fantasy games and fantasy novels, and the dungeon crawl feel really appeals to me. The components themselves are well made. The cards, I don't know if you can see the finish on them or not, probably not able to, but they do have that nice linen finish to them. They seem to have a pretty solid core in them. They don't bend very easy, so they will hold up well. If you're a card sleever, I don't know if there is a sleeve that fits these large cards. These smaller mini cards seem to be a little bit larger than other mini cards, so I don't know if they would fit either. We went through 15 chapter cards, but as you can see, there are a lot more. So you're going to get a really great random selection whenever you pick your chapter cards randomly, because there's so many to choose from. In total, there are 55 chapter cards. So it's going to give you a really nice variety. I'm sure there's cards in here, even with the multiple playthroughs that I've done, that I haven't seen yet. I know that I haven't seen 5 different bosses yet. This was the first time I ran into the Shapeshifter, but I think I've seen maybe 2 others, so I still have a couple of bosses that I haven't even seen yet. And I have the first expansion that I have not cracked open yet, and I pledged the Kickstarter to get the 2 new expansions that'll be coming out with that. So with the base game material and the expansions that are either out or coming, you have a lot of variety, and it is a fun, quick game to play. Again, you can teach this one in just a couple of minutes to a group and really get up and running quickly and have a fun time taking turns, at least turns that make sense in reading the cards. You wouldn't want your weakest player just to read it because they haven't read a card yet, but it'd be a lot of fun going around the table, having everybody read through the cards and taking their action. Definitely looking forward to cracking open the expansion in the near future, and I'm really glad that I'm going to have a couple more expansions when that Kickstarter fulfillment comes in, to really have that content changing and evolving through the course of my future playthroughs. Thank you for watching, thank you for your support, and I'll see you in my next video.